Of all the crises on Earth, there's one we're not addressing with any sense of urgency. People don't want to have kids anymore. Worse, they're not even doing the thing that causes the kids, drinking. And also the other thing. Experts say that we're in a sex recession. I mean, of all the kinds, that's got to be the worst one, because at least in a normal one, you're guaranteed to get fucked. Later in this video, I will investigate our nation's youth, but first, let's talk about this population crisis. So to keep a population stable, you need about 2 kids per couple. But in America, we're having like 1.5 each. That means our country's on track for population decline, as is already happening in China, Japan, South Korea, and Greece. And that's really bad because when your population is declining, it's really hard to have economic growth. You can have labor shortages, and it threatens the solvency of America's biggest spending program. America spent $1.5 trillion last year on Social Security. That's more than we spent on the US military. This is our biggest spending program by a lot. And here's the thing. The Social Security website published itself saying that because of demographic changes, they're on track to be brought to their knees. And for you kinky people watching, they mean that as a bad thing. Okay, the same document also says that apparently Washington isn't planning to do anything about this. So unlike them. So these countries, much like your parents as soon as you turn 30, really want us to have kids. Around the world, governments have resorted to just sending women cold hard cash to pop out a few kids. South Korea appointed this woman, whose responsibility is to single-handedly U-turn the country's declining birth rates, which means that she herself will need to give birth to hundreds of thousands of children. Oh, she's an economist. Oh, she's in charge of figuring out how South Korea spent $200 billion and still saw its birth rate decline. Japan also spent $150 billion and saw its birth rate decline. In fact, China, France, Germany, Italy have all tested policies where they pay people to have more babies, and it's not working. But why not? Because when you ask people why they're not having more kids, the first thing they say is that it's too expensive. And of course it is, especially in America. America's the most expensive place to raise a kid of any major economy. I mean, it would be cheaper to buy this Ferrari than it would be to buy a kid, raise a kid. So the question should be, why are Americans still having kids? I mean, we're choosing to change diapers over having a Ferrari? Are we out of our fucking minds? Okay, so let's look at other countries, like, God forbid, France. They have lower childcare costs than in America, so their birth rate must be lower. Okay, maybe it's a fluke. Germany has one of the lowest childcare costs of any major economy, so their birth rate must be... What the fuck? What makes this crisis super strange is that it seems no amount of money can solve it. I mean, money made Jeff Bezos sexy, but it can't make people have more kids. And what's even stranger is that within a country, the people who have more money are having less kids. If anything, it's those who can afford kids the most that are having them the least. So if it's not about the money, what's the real reason people aren't having kids? How can we make America again? Hey, how you guys doing?
What's up?
Thank you guys for being here.
Of course.
So are y'all f***ing or what? No, you hang up. No, okay, I'll call you later. Sorry, I was just on the phone with their grandmother, and she was telling me that the average body count for baby boomers was 10.7, but for Gen Z, 5.6. So I went and investigated what's going on. Why were you guys having so much sex?
Who wants to lead off with that?
I don't know, because kids today, everyone has their own bedrooms.
Were you guys from big families, or maybe your parents were from big families?
I think we all were. I was one of 3 boys.
One of 3?
The youngest, so I could study my brothers, including their girlfriends and sex lives to the extent they let me in on them.
Right.
But I'd go through their drawers and I'd find letters, or I'd find condoms.
Oh man. What do you guys think about online dating apps like Tinder, Hinge, Grindr, Farmers Only, Salad Match, LinkedIn?
What I hear now from people is that you're overwhelmed by choice.
Right, yeah.
So now, having been on these sites, I don't know about it, but I would think that would be a hard thing to deal with.
Yeah.
It seems a little more strategic than it was in our day.
Right, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, achievement-oriented things for kids today, and we all get caught up in it.
Right.
And I just wonder if that has an effect on the stakes are high for my relationships as well.
Yeah.
I got to get into college. I got to find the right person. I can't mess around with... And again, I think that's kind of our fault in a way, too, as 50 and 40-year-olds, to be like competing in this culture of producing these super achieving kids. I mean, my kids anyway. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Hold on, Mike. What he just hinted at is actually the central reason this entire crisis might be happening. And we're gonna explain this a lot more later. But first, pickup lines. A person from your generation, Bill Ackman, hedge fund CEO, he suggested that young men like myself approach women saying, "May I meet you?" Would that work?
Would it work in our day?
Yeah.
It would have seemed archaic.
Even then.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do my part in reversing population decline. What do you recommend? Like, what's the best line?
I remember the whole science of negging, if you've heard that term. In tongue-in-cheek, you put down the other person ever so slightly when you meet them.
Right. So I actually tried that. I called the girl ugly.
How'd it go?
Not good. Having learned from the masters themselves, it was time to pass down their teachings to our frontline soldiers. First thing I want to do is I just want to show you guys this. It's important. So what did we learn? That's how babies are made. I want you to see what they're saying about us. Why are young people having so little sex? In the Atlantic, they're dragging our name through the dirt right now. Gen Z is afraid of sex. So are y'all f***ing or what?
I don't think I'm the problem, but you know.
Yeah, and I'm an astronaut. Okay, I have something, it can be scary, but I mean, it's not that bad, but just don't freak out.
It's a cute baby.
Is it scary?
No.
Grandma was doing it, man. I want you guys to think of your grandma, and I want you to think of 10 guys around her. Like, what does she have that we don't? Like, what are we fumbling? Have you ever approached someone at a bar yourself?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But have you been approached at a bar?
Oh, yeah.
So like, give me that. Like, what's the playbook that you guys are using?
Be yourself.
These kids are screwed. Though I hadn't realized it at the time, the real answer had been hiding in front of me the entire time I talked to everyone. So to understand this whole birth rate crisis, we have to start with the fact that from the year 10,000 BC to 1800, women had on average 4.5 to 7 kids. But half those kids would die before their 15th birthday. And even by the year 1800, we only got those child mortality rates down to 43%. And this is one of those tragedies that was so commonplace throughout most of human history that we never talk about. Half of children had to live to experience being 16. So when you factor that in, child mortality rates, what you realize is that women were having on average 1.93 to 3.1 kids throughout most of human history. And that's not too far off from the global average birth rate today, which is 2.3. And that's why for most of human history, population growth was pretty stagnant. What changed that caused this giant spike that you're looking at is that those kids started surviving. And that's when we started seeing these big families pop up. But over time, families started adjusting. And that's what we call the fertility transition. Hey, what the fuck was that? We've seen fertility transition happen across cultures and religious groups and countries, but they happen at different times depending on where that country is with their economic development. There's this misnomer that some people have that lower income countries are just having more kids than they can afford. Like India, for example, where there's 1.4 billion people. But India's birth rate has now fallen back to 1.98, which is pretty normal. Higher income people in India are having about 1 to 2 kids. And this population growth trend line you see in India is pretty much exactly the same trend that you saw in Europe, but earlier. Wherever you go, you see that economic development is followed by declining birth rates. I've seen this in my own family. My parents and older siblings stopped at 2 kids, but my great-grandparents had 10. That's above average for even then. They did a little extra. Everybody coasts with British occupation in their own way. By the way, do you consider yourself to be a smarter shopper? Are you saving money with promo codes or discounts, or are you just paying full price for everything like a total hooligan? Well, today's sponsor is Cooper, and they help you save money. It's a free extension that you can add to almost any web browser, Chrome, Safari, or if you're really freaky, Firefox. 9 million people trust Cooper to bring them deals, and they work with 200,000 merchants to make sure you're getting the best price. We film outside and it's been below freezing almost every day, so we wanted to go and buy ourselves some hand warmers. Cooper's automatic coupon testing service finds and applies the best coupon codes to save us money while shopping. All you have to do is install the extension, create an account, and then click on the Cooper extension button at checkout. It even works with Amazon and eBay. The best part is that unlike some of their competitors, honey, they're not stealing your tracking links to make some extra cash. If you know, you know. Cooper also offers cashback rewards, so the more you use it, the more you get back. Cooper is for the smarter shopper who likes saving money. So if that's not for you, then no worries. Just keep wasting all your hard-earned money on paying full price for absolutely everything all the time for no reason. But if it is for you, then go to our description right now and sign up for Cooper. So what you're seeing is that today's population growth is actually a return to normal. So then why are so many reasonable people and Elon Musk saying that we're in a fertility crisis? Because that massive population growth went hand in hand with massive economic growth. For the first time, these countries just had more money than they knew what to do with. They were dressing up their armies in these poofy pajamas with feathers on top. But they also had enough money to build roads and railroads and enough money left over to even give to the needy. Western governments invented modern welfare programs the way we know them today in 1880 and then really expanded on them throughout the 1900s. Problem is, we built those programs as the population would just keep growing at the same rate. So in 1950, there were 16 working people paying into Social Security for every recipient, but today there's 2.3. Thus why the website says Social Security is on track to be brought to its knees. So here's the point. Rapid population growth was a temporary phenomenon. People are resetting now. We're not in a birth rate crisis. We've passed through the part of human history that was unusual. Governments still want people to have a ton of kids, but they only have two tools, guns and checks. But you can't make people have babies at gunpoint because for some, it ruins the mood. So they've resorted to sending people checks, but that hasn't worked either. Across countries and cultures, there's just something about being human that causes people to want to have less kids as GDP per capita goes up. And even when you factor in cost of living and childcare costs, this seems to be true. And what we still haven't understood is why. There's a couple reasons experts point to as to why young people aren't getting it on like their grandparents did. And some of the reasons they point to is social media and internet porn, the impact of having a kid in your 20s on your career, and even the fact that puppies are cuter than kids. All these things are true, but there's one thing that plays a major role that I don't really see being talked about, and it's the parental arms race. And this can help us reconcile one of the contradictions that we brought up earlier in this video. We had said that when you poll people, the number one reason they say they're not having more kids is because it's too expensive. But then we said that it's the wealthier people in countries and wealthier countries overall, they're having less kids. But what if this perfectly adds up? Very simply, parents want to raise kids that do at least as well or better than them, especially financially. Raising a child can cost more than a Ferrari, but now sending them to college, that could be another Ferrari. About half of families contribute to their kids' college tuition, which has only been skyrocketing. And getting into college, well, a lot of families feel pressure to compete against the ultra-rich who are spending sometimes $750,000 on college admission consultants. And then at one of the most expensive schools in America, the Trinity School in New York, one parent even tried to pay a college admission consultant $1.5 million just to not work with the other students at the school. The same trend is seen in other countries like Japan and the UK and South Korea and Germany, sometimes to a more severe extent. In South Korea, middle-class families can spend up to 6 years of their income on just educating their kids. And this is one of the top reasons many experts point to as to why South Korea's birth rate is one of the lowest in the world. For most families, it seems the pathways to making sure your kid has some level of success are getting increasingly scarce. This makes having kids feel unaffordable even when you have more money than your lower income counterparts. And when you consider the affordability crisis around having kids with that context, then $5,000 and free daycare is a step in the right direction, but it's a tiny step. Should we do those things anyway? Probably, but don't expect it to reverse the ticking time bomb that is population decline. Because the challenge is much bigger, creating an economy where people feel like their kids have an affordable shot at the American dream. And as for me, I'll play my role in making sure today's youth are inspired to take on this challenge. Guys, okay, I think to close this off, because this has obviously been very successful.
Yeah.
The direction that we're going as a country in terms of the economy, it's not good. We need more kids, or else we're just gonna get fucked, because it's just gonna be a bunch of old people or only children. I work with this only child. It's like so annoying. Like he's such a stickler about everything. It's like, oh, your hair's messed up. We have to redo the shot. My audio is on him, so he can't hear what I'm saying this. He has no idea. Yeah. So I think what we need to do, we all need to remember, ask not what your country can do for you, but who you can do for your country. We need to make America again. Are we in?
Not us to get babies, but like, yeah.
I don't want a baby right now.
Yeah. Yeah.